Something big just happened and it could directly affect your pension. A ruling from the High Court has sent shockwaves through the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, demanding they pay back £900 in underpaid state pension entitlements to thousands of pensioners across the UK. Yes, that's real. This isn't speculation, it's now law. The court has made it clear, mistakes were made, and now it's time to put things right. But what does this really mean for you, your monthly income, and your rights going forward? This landmark decision centers on years of miscalculations and delays, especially impacting women who reached state pension age before April 2016, and widows, divorcees, and those on lower pensions due to incomplete national insurance records. For too long, these groups were given incorrect amounts, sometimes for years despite qualifying for more. Now, the High Court is holding the DWP accountable, and that means you might be owed money. This isn't just a headline, it's a turning point. The pressure is now on the government to fix the system, process repayments, and provide clarity on eligibility. Over 200,000 pensioners could benefit from this, and the number might grow as more cases come forward. But the question now is, how do you know if you're one of them? What steps should you take today to check your entitlement? And will this change future pension assessments? We've broken it all down for you: who qualifies, how to claim, how long the process might take, and what else you need to be watching for in the latest DWP updates. So, if you're living on a fixed income or just want to ensure every pound you owed is in your account, this could be the most important pension update you'll hear all year. Don't miss out. Hit the like button, share this with someone who might be affected, and let's get into the facts that matter most to you. Now that we've set the stage with the High Court's ruling, let's dive deeper into what's really going on, because while £900 might not seem like a life-changing amount to some, for many pensioners living on a fixed income, it could cover a winter's worth of heating bills, a new set of eyeglasses, or several weeks of groceries. And beyond the money itself, this ruling speaks to something much bigger: fairness, recognition, and respect for the contributions made by older generations who have paid into the system for decades. Let's start with a bit of background. The state pension, as we know, is meant to provide a safety net, a form of financial stability for those who've spent their working lives building up national insurance contributions. But in recent years, it's become clear that this safety net has had some serious holes. The problem isn't new. Reports of underpayments have been surfacing for years, often brushed aside as administrative errors or technical oversights. But for those who've been affected, the consequences have been very real and very personal. Missed payments can mean missed meals, stress, and a constant battle just to get what was rightfully earned. What makes this case different is that it finally has the weight of legal authority behind it. The High Court didn't just acknowledge that mistakes were made, it ruled that they must be corrected. That means no more excuses. The DWP has been told to act, and act they must. The focus now shifts to how they are going to fix these errors and how long it's going to take for the money to actually reach those who are owed it. And let's be honest, trust in the system has already taken a hit. So if the DWP wants to restore any level of public confidence, they need to move quickly, communicate clearly, and ensure they don't repeat the same mistakes. Many of the underpayments highlighted in this ruling relate to women who were entitled to what's called a married woman's rate, a pension where a woman could receive a pension based on her husband's national insurance contributions. The problem? In thousands of cases, when husbands retired, or passed away, or when women themselves reached pension age, the DWP simply failed to apply the proper increases. These errors often went unnoticed for years. Some widows were left receiving as little as £67 per week when they should have been getting over £100. It's not just unfair, it's shameful. And then there are those who divorce later in life. You might think your pension would automatically update to reflect the fact that your former spouse's contribution should now be factored into your entitlement. But many cases showed that unless the individual themselves explicitly contacted the DWP and requested a recalculation, nothing was done. Think about that for a second. People were expected to know the system better than the department whose sole job is to administer it. That's where things really started to break down. What makes all of this even more frustrating is that many pensioners tried to raise concerns, only to be told that everything was in order. Call centers offered vague reassurances. Letters went unanswered. Some were even told they were mistaken, when in fact they were absolutely right. And now, years later, with the High Court confirming these failures, There's a real sense of anger, justified anger, that it took this long for the truth to come out. But where do we go from here? The DWP has already said they are reviewing over 400,000 pensioner records to check for underpayments. That process began in 2021 and is still ongoing. However, with the High Court decision now adding extra pressure, it's expected that the pace will pick up. If you think you might be affected, this is not the time to wait passively. You should consider requesting a full pension statement from the DWP and checking whether your amount lines up with what you're supposed to be getting, especially if you fall into one of the affected categories: widows, divorced women, or women who reached pension age before 2016. It's important to note that while the average back payment is being quoted as £900, some individuals may receive significantly more. There have already been reports of people receiving checks for £5,000, £10,000, even over £20,000, depending on how long they were underpaid and how significant the discrepancy was. For people who have struggled silently for years, those payments are not just money, they are validation. They are proof that their voice matters. But as with all things related to government departments, the process won't be automatic for everyone. While the DWP is reviewing records, it's still wise to be proactive. You can request a pension forecast through the government.uk website, or speak to an independent pensions advisor if you're unsure how your payments are calculated. If you don't feel confident doing it on your own, there are support services and even local Age UK branches that can help guide you through it. What's also worth discussing is how this situation has reignited debate about the broader pension system in the UK. Many argued that the entire structure needs reform, that too many people are left behind due to complex rules, outdated gender norms, or lack of clarity. This case is just one example, albeit a significant one, of how vulnerable groups can be let down by the very institutions meant to protect them. And let's not forget the emotional toll this takes. For older people, navigating bureaucratic systems can be exhausting. Dealing with forms, phone calls, and long waits, especially if you're not tech-savvy, can be overwhelming. Add to that the frustration of knowing you've been shortchanged, and it becomes more than just a financial issue. It becomes about dignity. This is why the government now has a responsibility not just to repay what's owed, but to offer an apology, streamline the process, and provide greater transparency. The trust between pensioners and the state has been eroded, and rebuilding that will require more than automated letters and calculated repayments. It'll require honest communication, better access to help, and accountability from those at the top. Another issue that's come up during this case is the sheer lack of outreach. Many pensioners only found out they were underpaid because a family member spotted something was wrong or because a newspaper article mentioned it. That's unacceptable. If there's been a mistake in someone's records, it should not fall on that person to discover it. It should be the DWP's job to inform and correct. That's why campaigners are now pushing for mandatory annual pension statements for all recipients, just like payslips during employment. It's a simple step that could prevent years of financial injustice. The media coverage around this ruling has been extensive, and rightly so. But the danger is always that attention fades. That people get swept up in the next story and this issue gets buried under other headlines. That's why it's so important that we keep talking about it. Keep sharing stories. Keep applying pressure. Because this isn't just about numbers in a spreadsheet, it's about people who gave their lives to working, raising families, contributing to society. They deserve to retire with peace of mind, not bureaucracy-induced headaches. Now, you might be wondering, what if you've already passed away before the underpayment is discovered? In some cases, families of deceased pensioners can still claim backdated amounts on their behalf. That's right. If your spouse, parent, or relative passed away in recent years and you believe they were affected by the pension miscalculations, you can reach out to the DWP and request a review. Again, it might take persistence, but it's worth it because that money could help the family manage costs or cover funeral expenses already paid out of pocket. And if you're someone who's already received a backdated payment as part of this review, don't feel guilty about it. You're not getting a handout, you're receiving what was always rightfully yours. The system failed you, and now it's finally, albeit slowly, making amends. Looking ahead, this ruling could set a precedent for other groups, too. There are murmurs that similar errors may have occurred with carers allowance, disability-related top-ups, and even in some universal credit calculations. If those investigations bear fruit, we could see a much wider reckoning within the DWP. But for now, the focus remains squarely on pensioners, and rightly so. There's a lesson here for policymakers as well. When you design a system that's too complex for the average person to understand, you increase the likelihood of errors and inequality. A future-proof pension system must be simple, fair, and accessible. One that recognizes the full value of unpaid work, like caregiving and raising families, which too often gets overlooked in traditional pension calculations. To wrap things up, let's remember this moment isn't just about correcting the past. It's about shaping the future. Ensuring that no one else is left to wonder if they are getting what they are entitled to. That no one else has to spend years being shortchanged in silence. The High Court ruling has opened a door, and now it's up to all of us, pensioners, families, advocates, and yes, even politicians, to walk through it and demand a better, fairer system for everyone. So stay informed. Ask questions. Follow up with the DWP if anything feels unclear or doesn't add up. You've worked hard your whole life, you deserve every penny of what you owed, and more importantly, you deserve the peace of mind that comes with knowing your pension is safe, accurate, and treated with the respect it deserves.